So a lot of people who end up adopting have gone through some sort of infertility issue, whether it's they couldn't conceive or they could, but they had a lot of miscarriages, or they had children and they had very difficult pregnancies and those kind of things. And I think some people would think maybe adoption is a cure for infertility. I think we'd all agree that that's not the case. But how has adoption and infertility kind of interacted in your guys' life?
I'll take that one.
That's a fair question. I'm just fading.
So, infertility is what it is. It sucks and it's hard to go through. But your end result, what you want to have, is to gain a family. And if adoption is your next choice, or if it's your first choice, that's just how you build your family, and you have to come to grips with that, and you have to be okay with it. It makes you have a family, but it's still infertility. You still have infertility. It still is hard. When people tell me they're pregnant, it's fine. I'm really excited for them and I'm happy for them, but sometimes it stings. It's hard sometimes, but I'm happy for them. I'm happy that I have a family, but it still sucks. Like lots of things.
I had somebody say this to me once, and I think it's true that infertility, or that adoption, is a cure for childlessness.
Yeah.
It's not a cure for infertility, because I'm still technically infertile. I'm still never going to be pregnant. And so you still have those feelings of infertility. And sure, as we've had children and as time has gone on, as I've healed and as I've worked through the grieving process, it's easier. I'm not sad about it all the time like it used to be. But there are still days that sometimes infertility kicks me in the stomach, and I'm still sad about it sometimes. Yeah. And I've just kind of gotten to the point where I've learned that I just kind of feel that feeling, and I acknowledge that I'm still sad, and I can validate that it's okay that I'm still sad, but then I can move on. And as far as it interplays with adoption, I think that some of the fears and some of the feelings and insecurities that have come up during the adoption process for me have really come down to my feelings with infertility. Yeah. And not necessarily because things are hard in adoption, but because I'm struggling with something that has to do with my feelings of, I wanted to be able to carry my children, and I wanted to give birth to my children, and I wasn't able to do that. Yeah. And not necessarily anything to do with anybody else in the adoption triad or whatnot.
I think adoption can help you deal with infertility in a lot of ways, but I also think you have to deal with your infertility to really have successful adoptions, because like you said, you may, especially like with open adoption, I think a lot of times people's fears around open adoption or inability to have successful open adoptions really comes down to the having to deal with the fact that you weren't able to birth a child yourself and not have that family, not have the birth families involved and stuff like that. You've got to work through that before. It does. I think you don't have to necessarily work through all of your infertility before you adopt.
It won't happen.
Yeah, you can't. But you need to work through a lot of it before you do, because it'll hurt your children. It'll hurt your children.
And it'll hurt your relationship with your birth families, and especially with your birth moms. And I think it can still hurt your relationship as a couple. You have to really work at dealing with that in order to be successful in all of the relationships in adoption.